इकोनॉमिक के लिए इकोनॉमिकली आपको ग्रो करने के लिए यू नीड मनी. सो इन्वेस्ट करने से द म्यूचुअल फंड को इन्वेस्ट करने से डेफिनेटली द मनी पूल अवेलेबल फॉर कंपनी ग्रो करने के लिए. पहले के ज़माने में दैट कंपनीज कुड बोरो एंड इन्वेस्ट. उसका साथ साथ में इक्विटी भी लेके इन्वेस्ट करना भी ज़रूरी है. दैट्स वे द बैलेंस शीट ऑलवेज बिल्ट. देयरफॉर इक्विटी कैपिटल कंपनीज के लिए बहुत ज़रूरी है. सो अगर दोनों तरफ से देखते हैं दैट इन्वेस्ट करना जो म्यूचुअल फंड में जो आ रहा है डेफिनेटली दैट गोज टू द कैपिटल मार्केट फॉर डेवलपमेंट ऑफ द कैपिटल मार्केट. देयरफॉर इकोनॉमिक ग्रोथ के लिए बहुत अच्छा है. अगर इन्वेस्टर्स को बहुत कंसर्न है किधर डालना है नहीं डालना है सोचता भी है और इनके लिए क्या क्या रास्ता है. अगर इंटरेस्ट रेट बैरिंग इंस्ट्रूमेंट में डालना है, इंटरेस्ट रेट इंस्ट्रूमेंट थोड़े आज के दिन में नीचे है एक्चुअली इन टर्म्स ऑफ जो इंटरेस्ट रेट जो मिलते हैं वो कम है एक्चुअली. और सेम टाइम इक्विटी में अगर डालना है, इक्विटी में आपका अनसर्टेनिटी ये मन में होते रहता है एक्चुअली, वॉलेटाइल रहेंगे नहीं रहेंगे. सो देयरफॉर इन दिस काइंड ऑफ प्रोडक्ट के लिए there is one category which got emerged in the last 4-5 years, which is the balance advantage fund. One is infrastructure drive the India's growth story. Yeah. Second is the consumption. So आज के दिन पे GST जो डिस्कशन चल रहा है, it is to boost the consumption, to make the goods cheaper by cutting taxes, so that more people will buy goods. Therefore, companies will sell more goods, and therefore profitability increase. So consumption is the largest theme in India, along with investment in infrastructure by the government of India. But people are large. You and me are the consumers. So consumption in India will remain one of the large pie with the growing aspiration of people, growing young populations. Every investor should look at market will remain forever. Therefore, market is not going to disappear overnight. Maybe we all as an individual disappear, but market will always remain because the new generation will come, new models will come, and therefore the fear of failure, it's more related to individuals. It is not for the diversified. Mutual fund is one animal. It is a diversified portfolio.
हेलो फ्रेंड्स, मेरा नाम नम्रता अरोरा है. वेलकम बैक टू म्यूचुअल फंड की बात. म्यूचुअल फंड की बात में हम ग्लोबल और इंडियन इकोनॉमिक कंडीशन, कमोडिटी, स्टॉक मार्केट्स, म्यूचुअल फंड्स, इन सब के बारे में बात करते हैं. और आज हमारे इस एपिसोड में वी हैव समवन वेरी रिनाउंड फ्रॉम द म्यूचुअल फंड इंडस्ट्री. आज हमारे साथ हैं मिस्टर बाला सुब्रमण्यम, हु इज द मैनेजिंग डायरेक्टर एंड सीईओ ऑफ आदित्य बिरला सन लाइफ एएमसी लिमिटेड. He has been associated with the organization since 1994. Prior to assuming the role of CEO in 2009, Mr. Bala served as a Chief Investment Officer from 2006 to 2009. As Managing Director and CEO, Mr. Bala oversees over 3.6 lakh crore rupees in assets under management at Aditya Birla Sun Life AMC. Before joining ABSL AMC in the year 1994, he worked with GIC Mutual Fund, Can Bank Financial Services and Pandit & Company between 1989 and 1994. Mr. Bala is closely associated with key industry bodies. He has been on the board of AMFI, which is Association of Mutual Funds in India, since 2009 and was the Vice Chairman of AMFI in 2015-16. He has served as a Chairman of AMFI for 2 terms from 2016 to 2018 and was reappointed for the period of 2021 to 23. Mr. Bala is a Chairman of the AMFI Equity CIOs Committee. He is also an esteemed member of the Financial Management Advisory Committee of the International Financial Services Centers Authority. He has been the governor on the Board of Governors at the National Institute of Securities Market (NISM), an institute affiliated with SEBI from 2018 to 2024. He was also a member of the Advisory Committee of the SEBI Investor Protection and Education Fund for a period of 5 years from 2019 to 2024. He was appointed on 14th of October 2024 as an additional director on the board of Bombay Chamber of Commerce and Industry for the year 24 to 25. Mr. Bala has completed advanced management programs from the Indian Institute of Management, Bangalore and Harvard Business School. He also holds a bachelor degree in science and mathematics and a master's degree in business administration from the Global Next University. Hello everyone, welcome back to Mutual Fund Ki Baat. Thank you so much again for joining us this week. And today we have with us very special person, Bala sir. He's coming on our podcast after a pretty long time. So today we have Mr. Balasubramanian, who is the MD and CEO of Aditya Birla Mutual Fund. Bala sir, thank you so much. आपने अपना valuable time हमें दिया आज. We are really honored to have you on our show today. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Namrata. I still remember the first of few recording they had in your WeWork office when Groww started as a business model. Yeah. So I'm happy to be here once again with you.
Thank you so much, sir. So guys, आज का जो हमारा टॉपिक है, of course Bala sir है तो we have to have समथिंग जहां हम काफ़ी डाइवर्स क्वेश्चंस बाला सर से पूछ पाएंगे। तो आज हमने जो टॉपिक चूज़ किया है वो ये है कि अगर मार्केट्स वॉलेटाइल हैं या मार्केट्स में करेक्शन हो रहा है तो हमें अपनी एक्विटी इन्वेस्टमेंट्स, एक्विटी फंड्स को कैसे नेविगेट करना चाहिए। एंड हमारे जो भी क्वेश्चंस आज डिज़ाइन हैं दैट्स अराउंड दिस पर्टिकुलर थीम, ओके। लेकिन हमारा हमेशा जो पहला सवाल होता है दैट्स जनरली अराउंड द मैक्रो इकोनॉमिक एनवायरनमेंट। बट आज जो हम बाला सर से एक बहुत सिंपल सा क्वेश्चन पूछते हैं। बाला सर, वी हैव रियलाइज्ड कि ऑफ लेट बहुत सारे एनएफओज आ रहे हैं। वी सॉ रिकॉर्ड एनएफओ इनफ्लोज ऑफ अबाउट व्हाट 30,416 करोड़ रुपीस इन जुलाई 2025। तो आप ये बताइए कि इन दिस कॉन्टेक्स्ट कि इतना सारा पैसा जो मार्केट में आ रहा है, इतने सारे इन्वेस्टर्स जो एनएफओज के थ्रू भी इन्वेस्ट कर रहे हैं, वैसे भी इन्वेस्ट कर रहे हैं इन एग्जिस्टिंग फंड्स, तो प्लीज़ टेल अस कि म्यूचुअल फंड में इन्वेस्टमेंट एक हमारी इंडियन इकोनॉमी के लिए कितना ज़रूरी है, कि अगर बहुत ज़्यादा इन्वेस्टर्स म्यूचुअल फंड्स में इन्वेस्ट कर रहे हैं तो उससे इंडियन इकोनॉमी पे क्या इम्पैक्ट होगा। एंड आई डू बिलीव कि विद सो मच हैपनिंग अराउंड, जैसे ट्रम्प टैरिफ्स की अगर हम बात करें, आर वी एक्सपेक्टिंग अ स्लो डाउन बिकॉज ऑफ दिस। तो आपको क्या लगता है कि ये जो ग्लोबल फैक्टर्स हैं इसकी वजह से इंडिया में स्लो डाउन होगा या इतना इम्पैक्ट नहीं होगा?
आपका तो क्वेश्चंस दो तरफ से देखना चाहिए। एक तो आपने क्वेश्चन पूछा दैट ये इंडियन इन्वेस्टर्स मार्केट में निवेश करने से इंडियन इकोनॉमी के लिए क्या फ़ायदा होगा। आई विल कम टू द आंसर नेक्स्ट, क्योंकि पहले इन्वेस्ट करना ज़रूरी है इन्वेस्टर्स के लिए, बहुत इम्पॉर्टेंट है, क्योंकि इन्फ्लेशन आज के दिन में कम है, कभी इन्फ्लेशन बढ़ सकता है और कॉस्ट ऑफ लिविंग आपको हमेशा बढ़ते जाएंगे। आज के दिन में आप देखेंगे एजुकेशनल कॉस्ट हर देश में अपना वो बहुत बढ़ चुका है एक्चुअली। हाउसिंग कॉस्ट हैज़ गॉन अप, लिविंग कॉस्ट हैज़ गॉन अप, सो देयरफॉर लाइफस्टाइल इज़ चेंजिंग। अगर लाइफस्टाइल अगर चेंज जितना है हो रहा है, सबको अडाप्ट करना ही है, सो उसका कमाई भी करना पड़ेगा। आपको कमाई उतना ही होएगा, आपको जो नीड्स जो है यू कैन ऑलवेज फुलफिल योर नीड्स एंड वांट, एस्पिरेशंस, डिज़ायर, सब कुछ आपको इन्वेस्टमेंट्स में ही आपको फुलफिल कर सकता है। देयरफॉर पहले तरफ से देखना चाहिए दैट इन्वेस्ट मेरा करना ज़रूरी है। इट इज़ टू मीट माई फुलफिल माई लॉन्ग टर्म ड्रीम इज़ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट। इकोनॉमी के लिए, एक इकोनॉमी के लिए आपको ग्रो करने के लिए यू नीड मनी। सो इन्वेस्ट करने से, द म्यूचुअल फंड को तो इन्वेस्ट करने से डेफिनेटली द मनी पूल अवेलेबल फॉर कंपनी ग्रो करने के लिए, पहले के ज़माने में दैट कंपनीज कुड बोरो एंड इन्वेस्ट, उसका साथ साथ में इक्विटी भी लेके इन्वेस्ट करना भी ज़रूरी है। दैट्स वे द बैलेंस शीट ऑलवेज बिल्ट। देयरफॉर इक्विटी कैपिटल कंपनीज के लिए बहुत ज़रूरी है। सो अगर दोनों तरफ से देखते हैं दैट इन्वेस्ट करना जो म्यूचुअल फंड में जो आ रहा है, डेफिनेटली दैट गोज टू द कैपिटल मार्केट फॉर डेवलपमेंट ऑफ द कैपिटल मार्केट, देयरफॉर इकोनॉमिक ग्रोथ के लिए बहुत अच्छा है। बट ट्रम्प टैरिफ इज समथिंग, सी वी हैव टू लुक एट फ्रॉम दिस एंगल। So while of course Trump tariff, it's widely talked about subject worldwide, खाली इंडिया के लिए अकेले नहीं है, वर्ल्ड के लिए भी है। बट इंडिया का जो यूएस के साथ जो रिलेशनशिप जो है, इट्स नॉट टुडेज डिस्कवर्ड रिलेशनशिप, इट्स मैनी डिकेड्स रिलेशनशिप। आई थिंक सॉफ्टवेयर इंडस्ट्रीज़ अगर यूएस में आज के दिन में फ्लरिश हो रहा है, इंडिया का हाथ बहुत ज़्यादा था से उतना उसमें था। बेसिकली सर्विस इंडस्ट्रीज़ में इंडिया has played a very large role, and manufacturing sectors में especially textiles. Somebody was jokingly telling that day that जो towel जो US में यूज़ करते हैं, it is produced in India. So therefore textiles में the shirt जो पहनते हैं actually that in US it is actually produced in India, apparels. Therefore there are a lot of sectors that are interlinked. Agriculture sectors, it's a lot of interlinked. So therefore the tariff would definitely have some bit of impact in India. However, but India का dependency जो है, it is not as high as what is perceived to be with the US. Because India economy is only economy where you produce for local consumption, you do it for local consumption, you actually less depend on import, you less depend on exports for your survival. India का survival is not dependent on exports. India का survival is on our own population consuming goods, producing services on day-to-day basis. Therefore, impact on economy मेरे हिसाब से कम हो सकता है. But GDP में I think थोड़ा impact आ सकता है about 0.3 to 0.4 basis points. So but उसका ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा impact नहीं है, क्योंकि जो लास्ट 10 साल से अपना प्राइम मिनिस्टर मोदी का डायरेक्शन में जो इकोनॉमिक ग्रोथ के लिए जो प्लान आउट किया हुआ है एक्चुअली, मेक इन इंडिया, डिजिटल इंडिया, and then सबके साथ सबके विकास, all these things actually lead to local productions going up. We make goods actually for import substitute. आज के दिन पे करंट अकाउंट डेफिसिट अगर देखते हैं, it is actually one of the best current account deficit. Current account deficit nothing but import versus exports जो माइनस जो है, the differential is actually is the current account deficit. आज के दिन में import थोड़ा ज़्यादा करते हैं बट exports भी अपना ज़्यादा है, therefore current account deficit is low. If you take a fiscal deficit, जो टैक्स हम लोग सब लोग जो टैक्स भरते हैं, सो जीएसटी जाने के बाद हर गुड्स जो खरीदते हैं उसमें जीएसटी में जो हम लोग पे करते हैं, अगर सब टैक्स मिला के अगर देखते हैं आज के दिन पे, जो गवर्नमेंट को जो पहले डिपेंडेंट था बोरो करके अपने देश को चलाने के लिए, विच इज़ कॉल्ड ए फिजिकल डेफिसिट, वो आज के बोरोइंग कम हो गया है क्योंकि टैक्स कलेक्शन ज़्यादा बढ़ गया है. सो दिस काइंड ऑफ स्वीट स्पॉट हैव नेवर सीन इन द पास्ट. देयरफॉर जो टैरिफ जो ट्रम्प टैरिफ जो डिस्कशन जो हो रहा है, had it happened on a weak economy, then India would have got affected. So tariff is not coming on a weak economy. Tariff is coming on economy which is already going strong.
Okay.
So it's already going strong. Therefore, India point of view, मेरे हिसाब से impact कम हो सकता है. But at the end of the day, market point of view, I'm talking about market point of view, it is something, any uncertainty market doesn't like. So as all of us as an individual, we don't like uncertainty, volatility, even our own life. But that's part and parcel of the anybody's life and same part and parcel of the anybody's game. So therefore, uncertainty जो आया ट्रम्प टैरिफ की वजह से, it is something being seen as a negative. But I think since the time it started in January, then went on till July. July में I think और थोड़ा negative आ गया था, especially रशिया का नाम पे लेके. And but I think India has always, I've seen historically, my own experience, last 35 years of experience में, whenever there is a crisis, अगर इकोनॉमिकली थोड़ा नुकसान हो सकता है, तभी अपना कंट्री में भी थोड़ा टफ कॉल लेके इकोनॉमिक कैसे आगे बढ़ाने के लिए क्या स्टेप्स लेना चाहिए वो सोच के हमेशा एक्चुअली दैट इंडिया हैज ऑलवेज कम आउट एज अ स्ट्रॉन्ग विनर. देयरफॉर द करंट रिजीम ऑल्सो, द करंट रिजीम, करंट डिस्कशन पॉइंट्स में भी माई ओन बिलीफ इज इंडिया विल कम आउट एज द स्ट्रॉन्ग विनर एज अ पावरफुल इकोनॉमी इन द वर्ल्ड.
वंडरफुल, थैंक यू सो मच बाला सर. आई एम श्योर ये जो आपने बोला है उससे हमारे इन्वेस्टर्स को काफ़ी कॉन्फिडेंस मिलेगा इन टर्म्स ऑफ इन्वेस्टिंग, विच इज़ गुड. सो ठीक है, सो आई थिंक लेट्स डायरेक्टली जंप टू द थीम. एंड मैं आपको ना सो हाउ स्ट्रक्चर्ड इज़ कि हम आपसे पहले एक हाई लेवल आप बता दीजिए कि जब मार्केट करेक्शन हो रहा होता है तो हमें क्या क्या कैटेगरीज कंसिडर करनी चाहिए, फिर हम उन सब कैटेगरीज को विल ब्रेक इट डाउन. एटलीस्ट जो इंपॉर्टेंट कैटेगरीज हैं उनके बारे में हम एक एक करके आपसे डिस्कशन करेंगे. तो सबसे पहले जस्ट एट अ वेरी हाई लेवल बाला सर, आप हमें ये बताइए कि जब मार्केट करेक्शन हो रहा होता है, जब मार्केट वॉलेटाइल होती है, तो कौन सी एक्विटी कैटेगरीज एक इन्वेस्टर के पोर्टफोलियो में होनी चाहिए जिससे इम्पैक्ट कम होगा उस वॉलेटिलिटी का.
श्योर. सो आई थिंक ये जो प्रोडक्ट, जो म्यूचुअल प्रोडक्ट जो है, आई थिंक ओवर अ पीरियड ऑफ टाइम उसका जो डिज़ाइन जो बनाया है, जो मार्केट वॉलेटिलिटी के हिसाब से जो बनाया है, इंटरेस्ट रेट के हिसाब से जो बनाया है, वैल्यूएशन के हिसाब से बनाया है, कभी मार्केट कंसर्न के हिसाब से बनाया है, आई थिंक ये कीप गेटिंग इवॉल्व्ड. सो ओवर अ पीरियड ऑफ टाइम देयर इज कोर कैटेगरी यूज्ड टू बी देयर, लार्ज कैप, फ्लेक्सी कैप काइंड ऑफ फंड्स यूज्ड टू ऑलवेज बी देयर. बट स्पेसिफिक टू योर क्वेश्चन ऑन मार्केट वॉलेटिलिटी, अगर इन्वेस्टर्स को बहुत कंसर्न है किधर डालना है नहीं डालना है, सोचता भी है, और इनके लिए क्या क्या रास्ता है. अगर इंटरेस्ट रेट बैरिंग इंस्ट्रूमेंट में डालना है, इंटरेस्ट रेट इंस्ट्रूमेंट आज के दिन में नीचे है एक्चुअली, इन टर्म्स ऑफ जो इंटरेस्ट रेट जो मिलते हैं वो कम है एक्चुअली. और सेम टाइम इक्विटी में अगर डालना है, इक्विटी में आपका अनसर्टेनिटी ये मन में होते रहता है एक्चुअली, वॉलेटाइल रहेंगे नहीं रहेंगे. सो देयरफॉर इन दिस काइंड ऑफ प्रोडक्ट के लिए देयर इज वन कैटेगरी विच गॉट एमर्ज्ड इन द लास्ट 4-5 years, विच इज द बैलेंस एडवांटेज फंड. से बैलेंस एडवांटेज फंड में क्या करते हैं एक्चुअली, मनी मैनेजर्स एक तरफ से इक्विटी का जो ऊपर नीचे करके टेकिंग इनटू अकाउंट वैल्यूएशंस, अनसर्टेनिटी, कभी उनको इक्विटी का एक्सपोजर कम कर देंगे, खुद ही कर देंगे. अगर इक्विटी का अगर तेज़ी में आ गया, मार्केट के एकदम बुलिशनेस सेंटीमेंट आ गया और उसमें इक्विटी का एक्सपोजर बढ़ा देंगे. एट द सेम टाइम कल समझ लीजिए इंटरेस्ट रेट बढ़ गया, इंटरेस्ट रेट में अच्छा रिटर्न आता है, सो उधर भी आई थिंक फिक्स्ड इनकम के बढ़ा देंगे. देयरफॉर द डायनामिक एसेट एलोकेशंस बिटवीन इक्विटी एंड फिक्स्ड इनकम is the category which has now become a good category for investors to look at. Balance advantage fund, we will call it. Okay. So this is one category. It acts as one alternate to pure diversified equity funds. It also acts as an alternate to the fixed income funds. ये दोनों में आई थिंक मिलके एक ही फंड में आपको मिल जाता है. Second category which has emerged is the multi-asset allocation fund. So I think one of the questions which comes to everybody's mind, what is the view on gold? Should I invest in silver? Should I invest in gold? Should I invest in a REIT? Should I invest in equity combination of all the three? So there's a multi-asset allocation fund also. It gave a birth about few years back, which is nothing but investing in equity. Fixed portion will be invested in equity, not dynamically managed, but it has got exposure to all the four asset classes, which is equity up to 60%. 35% में fixed income will be about 20% or 15%. Gold will be about say 10 or 12%. Silver will be about 5%. अगर REIT and InvIT भी अगर जरूरत पड़ेगा तो उसमें आ जाएंगे. Therefore, this asset class also given a birth. Therefore, this kind of market uncertainty, whatever answer you look for मिलेगा नहीं. Even when we also try to look for an answer, मार्केट में तेजी रहेंगे मंदी रहेंगे बहुत मुश्किल है एक्चुअली बोलने के लिए. बट इन दिस काइंड ऑफ अनसर्टेनिटीज में कैसे इन्वेस्ट कर सकते हैं? इज दी बैलेंस एडवांटेज फंड एंड मल्टी एसेट एलोकेशन फंड. दिस टू आई थिंक और द प्राइमरी इन्वेस्टमेंट व्हीकल दे कैन चूज. उसके बाद इन्वेस्ट करने के बाद आई थिंक व्हाट इज मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट एक्चुअली आपको पहले का स्टेप्स लेना है. इन्वेस्ट करने का स्टेप्स लेना है और रिस्क भी कम करना है और मार्केट में भी जुड़ा हुए रहना है. सो दैन द बेस्ट एसेट क्लास इज कमिंग टू दिस हाइब्रिड कैटेगरी. देन एज टाइम प्रोग्रेस यू कैन ऑलवेज शिफ्ट टू दी other asset classes which we will talk about it.
So now, Bala sir, of course, I completely understand कि hybrid fund is a great category to be in. जब आप volatility की बात करते हैं, multi-asset allocation funds, BAFs, time tested, we all understand. लेकिन let me ask you some questions based on जो हमारे investors हमसे पूछते हैं, right? कि क्या ये fund में invest करना चाहिए? So we'll get to that now. तो एक जो category है that is factor funds. Okay, आप हमें ये बताइए कि जो factor funds होते हैं वो हमारे portfolio को कैसे प्रोटेक्ट कर सकते हैं इन वॉलेटाइल मार्केट?
सी फैक्टर फंड अगेन नया कैटेगरी है. आई थिंक एज द मार्केट बिकमिंग बिगर, जो मार्केट के जो प्रोडक्ट जो है एवॉल्व होते जाएंगे. एक्चुअली इट्स अबाउट टेस्टेड ओवर अ पीरियड ऑफ टाइम. जो फ्लेक्सी कैप फंड जो म्यूचुअल फंड में जो है, लार्ज कैप फंड जो म्यूचुअल में, ऑल टेस्टेड है, बहुत साल से टेस्टेड है. उसमें डिसिप्लिन बहुत आ चुका है. एक्चुअली आप किधर पैसे डाल सकते हैं, किधर पैसे नहीं डाल सकते हैं, कौन सा मार्केट में इन्वेस्ट करना चाहिए, ये सब पूरा टेस्टेड है ओवर पीरियड ऑफ 25 ईयर. सम ऑफ आवर फंड्स हैव बीन देयर फॉर द लास्ट 30 ईयर्स. 30 ईयर्स में मार्केट को वॉलेटिलिटी देके वी आर स्टिल रनिंग दोज फंड्स वेरी एफिशिएंटली. बट फैक्टर इज समथिंग एज द मार्केट बिकम बिगर. फैक्टर बेस्ड फंड्स आपको मार्केट में अगर देखते हैं, व्हाट इज द मोस्ट हाईएस्ट इन टर्म्स ऑफ ट्रेंड पीपल लुक फॉर. द पीपल लुक फॉर एक्चुअली मार्केट का प्राइस मूवमेंट कैसे चलता है, सेक्टर मूवमेंट कैसे चलता है, सेक्टर का रोटेशन हो जाते हैं. पहले का साइकिल में आई थिंक द सेक्टर रोटेशन यूज्ड टू गो फॉर ए लॉन्गर पीरियड. एक भी अगर सेक्टर में देखते हैं, देयर आर 3-4 डिफरेंट सेक्टर ऑफ बिहेवियर ऑफ मार्केट. वन इज द स्ट्रक्चरली बुलिश स्टोरी एंड सिक्लिकल स्ट्रक्चरल स्टोरीज, सिक्लिकल सेक्टर्स एंड सेक्टर्स विच विल गेट इन्फ्लुएंस्ड बाय द ग्लोबल मूवमेंट्स. सो देयरफॉर अगर चारों के हिसाब से अगर देखते हैं, clearly you will see you have to capture these moments. Sometimes when the return comes in these sectors can be exponentially higher than the rest of the market. So in order to get the outperformance, the factor based funds are using the momentum that get established in single sector, single stocks. वो बेसिस में उनका allocate करके we try to generate high return on the portfolio. It's basically a model which you call it, which will also take into account fundamentals on the one side. Will also add momentum and volatility on the other side to build a model. But again, one has to just remember, this fund generally does well in a high momentum market.
Okay.
See, market like today आज के दिन में market moves in sideways. So it goes up by about 1 or 2%, 0.5% here and there. वही range में घूमते रहते हैं market. Sometimes we must also remember, market will go in a narrow range for prolonged period. मार्केट में गो इन फ्लैट पे इट्स कॉल्ड टाइम वाली करेक्शन. अगर मार्केट में अगर थोड़ा लोग का कंसर्न है पर मार्केट बढ़ने के लिए भी कुछ कारण नहीं है, गिरने के लिए भी कारण नहीं है, देन व्हाट हैपेंस गोज इन अ साइड रेंज. इन दिस काइंड ऑफ रेंज मार्केट फैक्टर बेस्ड इन्वेस्टिंग जनरली डजंट वर्क वेल. मोमेंटम बेस्ड इन्वेस्टिंग डजंट वर्क. इट एक्चुअली वर्क्स ओनली इन द बुलिश मार्केट और बैरिश मार्केट. सो मोमेंट हाईली वॉलेटाइल मार्केट. देयरफॉर इन्वेस्टर्स के लिए वेदर दिस कैन बी अ कोर फंड for them to invest, my own belief is no. I call it as any fund, there is a two type of investment you should have. Core, there is a core portfolio, which is a core portfolio, nothing but or regular basis में invest करते जाएंगे, but I will not even touch it for any reasons.
Yeah.
Whereas the satellite portfolio, it will generate a little bit of alpha, a little bit of more return on your portfolio. So therefore, it all comes as part of the satellite portfolio. But this category is emerging. People are understanding how it can work. And each one of us, even we are on our own model called quant-based mutual fund. We have a quant fund that we have. Again, driven by a model. But experience इसमें आपको मालूम पड़ेगा only over a period of 2 to 3 years period. Unless we see a momentum market where whatever you do can only become successful. But I think आज के दिन पे anything that touch cannot become a gold kind of thing. Today's scenario. In these kind of scenarios, ये fund में उतना experience नहीं रहते हैं. But however, as a category, is now a new emerging category which one should not ignore it and have it part of the portfolio allocation.
है ना, ठीक है. तो अगर हम क्योंकि इक्विटी फंड कैटेगरीज की ही बात कर रहे हैं बाला से, तो एक जो कैटेगरी जो मुझे लगती है कि शायद वॉलेटाइल मार्केट्स में अच्छी हो सकती है, आई पर्सनली थिंक इज फ्लेक्सी कैप्स. बिकॉज फ्लेक्सी कैप में एटलीस्ट फंड मैनेजर के पास फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी रहता है टू स्विच बिटवीन लार्ज, मिड एंड स्मॉल. तो अगर वॉलेटिलिटी है तो वो शायद दे में स्विच बिग चंक टू लार्ज कैप्स. तो प्लीज़ हेल्प अस अंडरस्टैंड बाला सर कि जो फ्लेक्सी कैप फंड्स होते हैं, क्या वो वॉलेटाइल मार्केट में के लिए अच्छे माने जाते हैं इन एन इन्वेस्टर्स पोर्टफोलियो. एंड ऑफ कोर्स ये कोर पोर्टफोलियो का ही हिस्सा होंगे, बट क्या ये अच्छी कैटेगरी है फॉर कोर पोर्टफोलियो?
फॉर अ कोर पोर्टफोलियो फंड इज वेरी गुड पोर्टफोलियो, क्योंकि वन फ्लेक्सी नेम इटसेल्फ टेल्स यू द मनी मैनेजर उनको जो इंटेलिजेंस जो है उसको यूज़ करके बिटवीन द लार्ज कैप वर्सेस मिड कैप एंड स्मॉल कैप, इतने में आई थिंक फाइन अपॉर्चुनिटी जनरेट अल्फा ओवर द इंडेक्स. So what is his endeavor is actually to beat the index by 2 or 3% over a period of time. So market again divided into 3 parts. Large cap category with up to top 100 companies which has got more than 50,000 crores market cap. It comes in the large cap. The rest to next 150 companies comes in the mid cap. The rest of the companies comes in the small cap. Agar money manager's point of view, we will actually look at growth, earnings growth versus the P multiples. You look at how these companies are evolving over a period of time. अगर मार्केट से ज़्यादा उनका कंपनी का ग्रोथ है, जनरली the stock tend to outperform the broad market. Suppose the index returns, say Nifty growth is say 15%. Any company which is growing more than 15% could potentially become the choice of investing from the money manager's point of view. So Flexi का money managers I think does a lot of deep research. किधर आपको आउटपरफॉर्म कर सकता है, कौन से सेक्टर में आउटपरफॉर्म कर सकते हैं आउटसाइड द निफ्टी. सो आउटसाइड द निफ्टी एंड अकॉर्डिंगली फ्लेक्सिबली मैनेज दी फंड. एट द सेम टाइम अगर ज़्यादा समझ लिया आपको मिड एंड स्मॉल कैप में ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा भाग गया है और प्राइस बढ़ गई है, उसके साथ साथ में रिस्क भी अगर ज़्यादा बढ़ गई है, दैट इज द परसीव्ड नोशन इट कम्स, बट उनका लार्ज कैप में जाके इन्वेस्ट करने के लिए मौका है उसमें. सो दे विल कम टू द निफ्टी 50 स्टॉक्स और निफ्टी 100 स्टॉक्स. द फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी दैट मनी मैनेजर इज गॉट definitely is it comes as the it's the what I call it as a art and science. Any investments may money manager has got two quality they have to possess. One, the science of investing, which is nothing but investing on the basis of the fundamentals of the companies. Art is nothing but understanding where the trend could go and which sector to catch early, which sector to sell early. So these are the art. So the combination of science and art and managing the portfolio flexibility between large and mid cap is something provides the investor the experience. Therefore, from an investor's point of view, अगर कोई भी चीज़ स्कीम में मेरे को इन्वेस्ट नहीं करना है, so flexi cap fund itself is more than enough for me to build a portfolio for long term. But एक ही ध्यान में रखना चाहिए that any investment that I make, irrespective whatever the category, आप लंबा समय के लिए more than 3 years के लिए अगर इन्वेस्ट करने के लिए अगर निर्णय हो गया है, then the experience will also be equally good.
Okay. So we can say कि अगर आप equities consider कर रहे हैं तो flexi cap ठीक है. अगर आपको और प्रोटेक्शन और ज़्यादा करना है तो हाइब्रिड फंड्स जैसे आपने बोला था, बैलेंस्ड एडवांटेज फंड्स या मल्टी एसेट एलोकेशन फंड्स अच्छे कैटेगरीज हैं. फैक्टर फंड्स एज यू सेड सैटेलाइट पोर्टफोलियो का हिस्सा होने चाहिए, एंड मे बी अ स्मॉल एलोकेशन इज ओके बट नॉट अ बिग पार्ट ऑफ योर पोर्टफोलियो.
Not exactly.
Okay. Is there any other fund before we move on to our conversation? कोई और फंड जो आपको लगता है कि फॉलिंग मार्केट्स में ज़रूरी हो सकता है या अच्छा परफॉर्म कर सकता है? Before I ask you questions around other topics that I have.
Yeah. See, in terms of funds, if you look at generally question comes in mid cap and small cap.
Yeah.
My own belief is mid and small cap, अगर if you are bullish on India, and if you are a strong believer, Indian economy will be continue to grow every year by 6.7%. And जो हिसाब से जो अपना economy बढ़ते जा रहा है, you will find many companies also growing. So you will find new companies coming in, many companies will grow. जो हिसाब से जो investment जो चल रहा है अपना देश में. Therefore, mid and small cap as a category also should not be included. Mid cap, especially even mid and small cap, an allocation, part of the core portfolio allocation. I think only thing you have to give a time of say 5 to 7 years. So that's one category. Generally, I suggest to a lot of people, especially for youngsters. He has another 30 years for him to work life. Working life is going to be 30 years. Agar when you have working life of 30 years, agar 30 years ka you are going to have an earning potential for you. That means you should not worry about time frame. You have to actually invest for 30 years. So if you take 30-year view, definitely mid and small cap, flexi cap साथ में, mid and small cap is also good. The other category which I generally call it as I think India, if you take the India as a story, one is infrastructure drive the India's growth story.
Yeah.
Second is the consumption. So आज के दिन पे GST जो discussion चल रहा है, it is to boost the consumption, make the goods cheaper by cutting taxes, so that more people will buy goods. Therefore, companies will sell more goods, and therefore profitability increase. So consumption is the largest theme in India, along with investment in infrastructure by the government of India. But people are large. You and me are the consumers. So consumption in India will remain one of the large pie, with the growing aspiration of people, growing young populations, growing working age populations. Consumption will be one of the major driver. So in the thematic category, there are funds called consumption fund.
Yeah.
We used to, in our own case, we used to call it Gen X fund. Now it's called the consumption fund. This is also long lasting. I think we have to look at it from this angle. Is it a thematic, short-lived, shelf life is short, or thematic, shelf life is longer? I mean, आप कोई भी समय के लिए आपको इन्वेस्ट करना चाहिए. You have to identify opportunities. It's not cyclical. There are structurally good companies producing goods for ever, not for only for today or tomorrow. Producing ever for ever, which is basically a consumption. This will take into account two-wheeler, all those things will come in that. Therefore, consumption fund is one of the fund which I think investors can consider as a long-term sustainable. My always belief is, agar shelf life lamba समय के लिए रहे, then that fund should be considered, whether it is thematic or diversified category. Instead of confusing on too many schemes, I would probably suggest flexi cap, mid cap, small cap, on the core, along with large cap names, which is the large cap fund. And thematic में Gen X fund, which is a consumption fund, could be one of the options. As you rightly put it, अगर किसको भी सोचने का टाइम नहीं है, डर हमेशा रहते हैं, और कंजर्वेटिव भी है, मेरे को कैपिटल भी थोड़ा सेव करना है, then hybrid fund becomes one of the natural choice for them to go and park themselves.
मैं एक्चुअली आपसे पूछने वाली थी अबाउट थीमेटिक फंड्स, लेकिन आपने उसका जवाब पहले ही दे दिया, विच इज़ ग्रेट. सो कंजम्पशन एंड इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर, आप बोल रहे हैं कि ये दो ऐसी थीम्स हैं जो शायद अगर थीमेटिक फंड्स में डालना है तो ये आप थीम्स को कंसिडर कर सकते हैं.
एग्जैक्टली.
So Bala sir, now let me ask you this question. आप इतनी बड़ी कंपनी चलाते हैं and such a big fund house, तो प्लीज़ हेल्प अस अंडरस्टैंड कि एट आदित्य बिरला आपका जो स्टॉक पिकिंग स्ट्रैटेजी रहता है फॉर योर एक्विटी फंड्स, उसका ब्रॉड फ्रेमवर्क क्या रहता है फॉर यू टू डिसाइड कि ये स्टॉक्स मेरे पोर्टफोलियो में होने चाहिए, नहीं होने चाहिए? व्हाट्स द स्टॉक पिकिंग स्ट्रैटेजी?
Yeah, I think clearly the 3-4, I call it a science, which I earlier mentioned about science and art. I think in the science part, one of course identifying businesses. Which business will have a growth forever. So look at companies' growth potential, product potential for them to remain relevant from the consumer point of view or from the system point of view, economic point of view, whether it is service industry or product industry. So that's something we look at the business model. Second, it has to be sustainable over a long period of time. They should be able to generate revenue year after year, profit year after year. Sure. And then equally the management commitment to build it up. So management commitment to build it up. Basically opportunities. So any business that you build, you look at the targetable audience, then you look at target opportunities. If a target opportunity is big, then company is going after those target opportunities, whether it is on the consumer side or in the business model side, then that becomes actually your shortlisting of candidate. You filter it, right? You have so many companies are there. You have to filter the ideas. This is as part of the filtering process they do it. Second is return on investment, basically the balance ratios, right? So you make money, but you are investing in business, but not making money. So then you must also know the period of how long you will continue to lose money, when you start making a profit, then how profit can become quicker. For example, if you have to give an example of telecom industries, then almost 10 साल के लिए पैसे नहीं बनाए उन्होंने. I mean, initially they were not making money. They were making money, but volumes are not growing. As they cut the prices, आज के दिन पे you know very well, India mobile telecom is very cheap. But consumer base बढ़ गया, consumer base बढ़ गया, target segment बढ़ गया. Today the number of users, the whole population is using. Therefore, the companies have become super profitable in the business model. Therefore, identifying these kind of companies on a regular basis, and then sector-wise. Then within that you go into sector, which sector can do better, and क्यों these sectors will do well, whether it is because of overseas, whether it is because of Indian consumptions. So do this permutation combination analysis, and finally identify the sectors within the stocks, then within the zero down management, and then the balance sheet construct. Then we also look at financing of the projects. कभी ज़्यादा equity लेके कंपनी चला देंगे, कभी कभी कंपनीज बिल्ड बिजनेस ऑन बेस ऑफ डेट, बोरो करके कंपनी बिल्ड करेंगे, द सडनली दिवाल हो जाएंगे, विल सडनली फाइंड कंपनी डिसअपियर्स. So you have to understand balance sheet constructs and basis which you build the portfolio in your. So therefore, in our case, what you have done is, as a fund house, we have identified roughly about 450 companies. ये investment universe जो बोलते हैं, ऐसा like what I said, filtering करने के बाद we have identified about 450 companies in which we'll invest, and then any new company that comes. Today, so many IPOs are coming. We'll go and evaluate how these companies are set up, what is the future potential of these companies, and then what kind of valuation you can provide. Anybody can replicate it, not replicate it. So they have to look at more in detail on each and every companies and being part of the investment universe. The investment universe आने के बाद, then we also said if you are convinced on companies, आपको owning करना चाहिए. Convince करने होने के बाद अगर ownership नहीं है, then it's not idea that you have identified it. It's not something you want to own it. You have to own it. Then we look at the ownership of those company, analyst का recommendation के बाद ये कंपनी में क्या साइज में ओनरशिप करना चाहिए, either related to the company capital or related to your own fund size that we have. So we have a fund size about 2 lakh crore in equity, 2 lakh 20,000 crore in equity we have. उसका अंदर कितना पैसा लगाना चाहिए in each of these companies. We go and look at it, whether we are bullish, do you have enough size? If you don't have enough size, we are bullish, but can you increase it? So these are the combinations, we keep doing the permutation combination. That's called construction of portfolios. एक बार identify करने के बाद, then you must also focus on construction of portfolio, which is very important in your portfolio management. एक बार construction of portfolio आ गया है, what is the construction of portfolio should lead to beating the benchmark by 1 or 2%. So or beating the peer group by 1 or 2%. That's the way we look at it all the time. This is a continuous exercise. कभी आपको, this is not something one day you do it and then forget it. Yeah. This is the job of the money managers. I think in fact Aditya Birla Mutual Fund over a period of 30 years, I cannot say we have mastered it, because in equity market nobody can claim I have mastered it, because its learning curve is exists on a daily basis. But having said that, एक बार smoothness आ गया, I call it a symphony. Once the symphony is set very smoothly in investment principles, then it becomes a regular activities for the fund manager to carry out. So this is the broad principle in which I apply, which is the investment philosophy that we have. Broadly on these lines, I put it simply for viewers understanding, but broadly this way we do it.
Okay, cool. So I think एक जो सवाल क्योंकि आप we've got you here, so I have to ask you this कि थोड़ा SIP के बारे में अगर हम देखें, and I think as an industry हम we do talk a lot about SIP. As per the AMFI data, SIP reached an all-time high of about 28,400 odd crores in July 2025. तो इस कॉन्टेक्स्ट में आप हमें ये बताइए बाला सर कि वो बेसिक जो थंब रूल्स होते हैं एक इन्वेस्टर के लिए, स्पेशली व्हेन इट कम्स टू SIPs, वो बेसिक थंब रूल्स क्या होने चाहिए, राइट? बिकॉज आई स्टिल बिलीव कि हम जितना भी बोल लें फिर भी इन्वेस्टर्स मार्केट करेक्शन होता है तो SIPs रोक देते हैं, डर जाते हैं, या फिर दे आर नॉट एबल टू फिगर आउट कि कितना SIP करना चाहिए, कितने टाइम के लिए करना चाहिए. तो आप हमें कुछ बेसिक थंब रूल्स बता दीजिए इन टर्म्स ऑफ SIP को लेके क्या होना चाहिए. What's the importance of SIP in mutual funds through this whole process?
See, SIP is something I have seen it evolving. As an individual, I have seen SIP evolving. I must take pride. Aditya Birla Mutual Fund were the first mutual fund in India to introduce, we used to call it a PSP, which is a payroll savings plan. We were the first one to introduce in India in the 1997, 96, 97. मेरा अभी भी when my salary was low, तभी I enrolled for PSP, which is payroll saving plan. आज के दिन में continue हो रहा है. So therefore, at the power of SAP, we discovered it long back. But it became popular in 2017, 2016-17 में popular हुआ था. It started becoming popular in the year Lehman Brothers crisis के पहले. But people understood SAP should be continued, not withdraw during the Lehman Brothers crisis time. But still people withdrew in 2011, 2012. But 2017 के बाद we have seen one-sided तेजी. Therefore, we have seen more and more SAPs coming in. But people have understood the hard way that investing through SAP is the best way to invest in mutual fund. If you want to build longer term wealth for yourself to fulfill your dream. Everyone has got a dream. The dreams are, I call it as a want and needs. The needs are basic needs for everybody. Everybody wants to have a good house, good car, and good transportations, and good travel, and so on and so forth. These are all basic needs. Nowadays, it become basic needs. No more is a luxury. Good mobile phone, all these things are good jobs, and God want to get married, good family, and so on and so forth. These are basic needs. A basic needs, you all need money, right? Everybody needs money. Therefore, savings for the basic needs actually should be the first and foremost principle. That I think one should continue. Want is something is the desire, aspirations.
Yeah.
Want can be vary from people to people. Somebody wants to have a Mercedes car versus say Maruti car. That's your choice. So therefore, look at differential on these kind of things. Second is the best way to invest in SAP. I always say that Warren Buffett said in 2009 at Lehman Brothers crisis, he came out with one nice wording: spend money after you complete your investment. आप खर्चा करने मना नहीं कर रहा हूँ एक्चुअली, बट आप खर्चा करो, जो इन्वेस्ट करने के बाद जो बचा हुआ है उसमें खर्चा करो. इट्स नॉट द अदर वे अराउंड. जो खर्चा करने के बाद बचा हुआ इन्वेस्ट करना है, राइट? दैट्स द रिवर्स है. वो बचेगा नहीं कुछ भी एक्चुअली, राइट? सो आप स्पेंडिंग करते रहें, कुछ बचेगा नहीं एक्चुअली इन्वेस्ट करने का. देयरफॉर यू मस्ट इन्वेस्ट फॉर योर नीड, so which is basically what I mentioned about. The moment you have this principle, invariably what will happen is you will end up committing say 50 to 60% of your net take home. I'm talking about 50-60% of net take home. If you're able to commit to SAP, that's I think best thing that you can do in your lifetime. So I actually learned it very hard way, that when I realized I don't need too much of money to meet my monthly expenses, to the extent I used to keep money in my balance, keep my balance in my account. Rest of the I used to do a sweeping SAP to my equity schemes. So that has given a power of compounding. So I think as you start investing, power of compounding none of us understands in real world. My always simple thumb rule is 72 divided by 10. That means your money will double in 7.2 years. अगर 10% अगर रिटर्न मिल गया मेरे को, 72 divided by 10, which is 7.2 years, पैसा डबल हो जाएगा. So if you are able to double your money in say 4 years, which essentially means 70 divided by roughly about 14 or 15. So 14-15% coming actually over a period of time in equity, it's not something unreasonable expectation. One can expect over a period of time. I'm talking about over a period of time in 10 साल में. Therefore, your money doubles in every 4 years is something which should be happy. But वो कभी होएगा, आप इन्वेस्ट करने से होएगा, not by withdrawing. I think where people should not get chickened out. SAP is not for chickening out. SAP is actually to fulfill your dream. So if you want to pursue your dream, you must continue SAP. If you want to fulfill your dream and achieve more, आपको continuous invest करना पड़ेगा. We must also assume, especially for salary employee, I always say, there is an increment called every year an increment comes. All of us working employee, we get an increment every year ranging from 6% to 12% range. That is the range it comes. For everybody, right? It is uniform across the country. That 6% or 8%, 12% that comes in, you must commit to SAP, not for spending. So spending should be done only to the extent of your need, which I am not saying spending should not be done. But SAP, if you are able to do that, this is called step-up SAP. If you are able to, the moment you say keep adding it up. But one beauty in SAP is, unlike many other instruments, अगर आपको बिल्कुल ज़रूरी है for any emergency need, and you have emergency need in your house, suddenly you want to take a decision for a large investment, it's available for you to withdraw. It's not going away for you withdrawing. उसमें return नहीं दिखना चाहिए. Withdrawal means your purpose changes. Therefore, if you keep this principle, my view is SAP will be the way of investing, will become the real, and then you don't need to worry about market fluctuations, and I don't need to worry about whether index will go to 1 lakh. But to be frank, I have been telling a lot of people, that when people would ask me about when the index was 25,000, Bala, whether market will go to 50,000, I would have said, I am not very sure. I would not have been bullish to estimate index will become 50,000. When the index was 50,000, had we all predicted 70,000 index will become, we would have said yes over a period of time, with no certainty.
Correct.
Therefore, you can never predict the market with certainty. But if you keep investing in a disciplined manner, I think the SIP is something which gives you a disciplined way of investing. I think Groww has been a big advocate and proponent of SIP or investing to investors. And you have benefited large pool of young population in the country, getting them into mutual fund industry. That is the best way to invest in India.
Thank you. Yeah. So I would say, as you said, long term के लिए SIP करिए. At least 50-60% हर महीने अपने income का अगर आप invest कर सकते हैं, that's great. And
One point I just want to also tell you.
Yeah.
One more point, number I want to just say. I was looking at our own Aditya Birla Flexi Cap fund, which is one of the oldest funds, started in 1998. Somebody invested about 10,000 rupees. Roughly about 32.2 lakh rupees they invested, roughly, over a period of 10,000 rupees. Every month, 10,000 rupees, roughly about 1 lakh 20 rupees per annum till date. The value of that today is roughly about 6.48 crores. So you put 32 lakh rupees, become 6.4. Then you cannot argue saying you are given 6.48, somebody has given 7.2, somebody is given 5.8. That comparison generally is not, I don't encourage people, because the moment you start looking at others, you will never be satisfied. You have to look at your investment and basis how the outcome has been. As long as the outcome is better than what others would have done, that outcome should be taken as something is good. So the 32.2 lakh rupees accumulated over a period of time by way of investing 10,000 rupees SIP, it became 6.48 crores. It is something, it's one of the best outcome that one can get by investing in SIP. That's the power of company I just mentioned.
Okay. Sure. So, of course, हम, power of compounding की बात करते हैं. हम ये भी बोलते हैं कि 50-60% invest करिए through SIPs. But I think कि एक हमारे देश का जो एक बहुत बड़ा segment है, जो lower income segment है, उनके लिए सेबी ने एक बहुत interesting concept introduce किया है, which is called the छोटी SIP. तो बाला साहब हमें थोड़ा छोटी SIP के बारे में बताइए, क्योंकि ये अभी recent है and I think हर किसी को पता होना चाहिए कि आप बहुत कम अमाउंट से भी अपना SIP इन्वेस्टमेंट शुरू कर सकते हैं. So please give us, throw some light on छोटी SIP.
Yeah, just want to give one product of, we introduced a product called Sahayog SIP. Before even the छोटी SIP जो सभी आने के पहले, the Sahayog SIP is nothing but meant for Bala employees, housemaid and house servant and drivers, right? All of us, this is the basic. So I call them as employee of mine. So as an employer of 3 people, I can subscribe to their SIP. It's called Sahayog SIP, which is called Sahayog SIP. We introduced this with about 500 rupees per month. I can invest. So Chhoti SIP is like that. So Chhoti SIP, which is basically meant for people, which is the bottom of the pyramid. So bottom of the pyramid के लिए उनको लिए lifestyle is also changing. Their kids want to be aspirational. They also want to study they want to study and take care of their parents. I think the people at the bottom of the pyramid, they want to make their parents proud by doing education, by doing good work, etc. So उनको लिए अगर save करना है, it's about 250 rupees SIP that industry has introduced. छोटी SIP में एक ही advantage है, every citizen of the country today has got Aadhaar. And up to 15,000 rupees, आपको उसमें PAN का जरूरत नहीं है. You can get enrolled under छोटी SIP and start investing 250 rupees every month. So this is basically make people understand आपको इतना छोटा amount भी डाल सकता है. It is make people realize investing बोलेगा तो people think it actually is the rich man baby. It is not rich man baby. A mutual fund is actually for retail investors.
For everybody.
Capital market, I cannot, speculation is not for retail investors. Investing is for retail investors. अगर retail investors का अगर अपना देश के साथ उनका भी भला होना चाहिए, is what with that intention 250 rupees SIP was introduced. In fact, my own belief is over a period of time, all the people who are in the mobile, smartphone, they can potentially become the investor in mutual fund by way of investing 250 rupees SIP on a per month basis. In fact, they will realize over a period of time, 250 rupees छोटी SIP इतना बहुत छोटा है actually. क्योंकि they will start thinking 250 rupees को कैसे बड़ा करने के लिए. So 250 become 500 rupees. It's like when the nano car was introduced, Initially, there was a wave that Nanacar, everybody started liking it.
Yeah.
Then suddenly people realize, oh, Nanacar बहुत छोटा है actually, therefore I must go look at little bigger car, right? That's the way it all started happening. Therefore, my belief is Chhoti SAP is the initial beginning to encourage people to come with 2 rupee SAP by making the paperwork less, so the onboarding become easy. As you start experiencing, my own belief is they will start thinking the power of compounding, power of investing for long term. Therefore, छोटी SAP मेरे हिसाब से धीरे धीरे करके थोड़े से बड़ा SAP हो सकता है उसमें.
बल्कि मुझे लगता है कि छोटी SIP शायद जो स्टूडेंट्स भी होते हैं वो भी अगर छोटे अमाउंट से शुरू करके एक्सपीरियंस कर सकते हैं म्यूचुअल फंड्स व्हेन दे आर यंगर, फिर जब वो कमाना शुरू करेंगे उनको कुछ समझाने की ज़रूरत भी नहीं पड़ेगी, वो ऑटोमेटिकली अपने स्मॉल अमाउंट्स को बढ़ा कर देंगे वंस दे स्टार्ट अर्निंग. सो आई थिंक छोटी SIP इज़ अ ग्रेट स्टार्टिंग पॉइंट फॉर एवरीबडी एज यू राइटली सेड.
करेक्ट.
सो बाला सर, नाउ टेल अस कि हम ना बहुत सारे रेशियोज देखते हैं जब हम इन्वेस्ट करते हैं ना, शार्प रेशियो, सॉर्टिनो रेशियो, इन्फॉर्मेशन रेशियो, अपसाइड कैप्चर रेशियो, डाउनसाइड कैप्चर रेशियो, इतने सारे रेशियोज गिविंग अस सो मच इन्फॉर्मेशन, राइट? चाहे वो रिस्क एडजस्टेड रिटर्न्स हो, चाहे वो डिफरेंट टाइप्स ऑफ रिस्क इन्वॉल्व. तो प्लीज़ हेल्प अस अंडरस्टैंड बाला सर कि ये जो इतने सारे रेशियोज हम देखते हैं क्या वो ज़रूरी हैं? Are these critical numbers good या ideal, या फिर मतलब which are those important ones जो हमें देखने चाहिए, सारे देखने की ज़रूरत नहीं है? What do you think?
मैं तो है रेशियो में देखता नहीं है, but however these are important for you to measure the risk involved. I think all the ratio that you mentioned, से आपको रिटर्न कमाना ही है, आप कितना रिस्क लेके आप रिटर्न कमा रहे हैं, विदाउट टेकिंग रिस्क कितना रिटर्न कमा रहे हैं. दिस इज समथिंग विच एक्चुअली द रेशियोज आर इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर वन टू नो. फ्रॉम इन्वेस्टर्स पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू, डू दे नीड नो ऑल द रेशियोज बिफोर इन्वेस्टिंग? मेरे हिसाब से जरूरी नहीं है. बट इट इज़ फॉर द मनी मैनेजर्स. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, व्हेन वी मैनेज पब्लिक मनी, so as a CEO of Aditya Mutual Fund, we have a team of people managing funds. So उनको measure करने के लिए कितना risk लेके करें. I'll tell you, when this was introduced way back in 1995-96, they're all getting evolved. That time कुछ भी system बिल्कुल नहीं था. We were not knowing how to measure the risk. Then as time progressed, we all got adjusted to the risk management practices. Then we said अगर AAA investment अगर ज़्यादा डाल दिए, रिटर्न कम आता है, रिस्क भी कम है. अगर AAA इंस्ट्रूमेंट से अगर नीचे जाके अगर AA में डाल दिया, AA माइनस रेटेड में डाल दिया है, रिटर्न ज़्यादा आता है, उसमें रिस्क बढ़ता है. एज यू गो डाउन द क्रेडिट कर्व, रिटर्न ज़्यादा आते हैं और रिस्क बढ़ता है. सो हाउ डू मेजर दिस सक्सेस? हाउ डू मेजर दिस? यू कांट से इट, यू कांट एक्सप्लेन दिस मेनी वर्ड्स. Therefore, all the ratios actually helps you understand what kind of risk you take accordingly. In the same way, equity में I can of course generate very high return by taking extra risk. See, any high return that I take, I generate, I have to naturally assume ज़्यादा रिटर्न आते हैं because I am taking extra risk. अगर बिना extra risk अगर रिटर्न जनरेट किया है, then I am super duper kind of investor. Therefore, in order to measure the success, these ratios have been introduced. From investor's point of view, I think he has to look at the longevity of fund house, the credibility of the fund houses. See, return is not the only way to invest. I think you are investing for. I often tell people that especially if somebody had bought a house in Hong Kong instead of say China, they would have made tons of money. But the very fact that you never had an opportunity to invest in Hong Kong, there's absolutely no reason for me to compare Hong Kong versus China. The same way, it's like if I invested in Bangalore in Whitefield versus say MG Road place in Bangalore, the prices are too different. And the very fact that I didn't make investment in MG Road, not bought in actually Whitefield, that doesn't mean I'm a poor investor. So the very fact I didn't think about buying in MG Road because it was not affordable for me. Therefore I bought in Whitefield and so on and so forth. Right? This is the way every decision is being made. Therefore, my own belief is return comparison I think they should not get caught. Otherwise, what happens is I always tell people, if you generate 10%, I have generated 11%. 11% definitely is good. That doesn't mean 10% is bad. So as long as you may keep the discipline that investing for long term is actually important. So therefore, the ratio is actually for money managers to look at, analysts to look at, the people who recommend the portfolios, they look at more deeply, based with the rate. But still, my own belief is these ratios, I can't say important. These are definitely scientifically proven numbers over a period of time. But is it the only way to you to consider investment? मेरे हिसाब से उतना जरूरी नहीं है. I think if you are able to select the fund houses which has got long-term track record and going forward also they will remain in the system for a long period of time and continue to focus on servicing customer, deeply committed to the business, deeply committed to building team, committed to building processes, मेरा सर that is more than enough.
Okay, okay, wonderful. Okay, so बाला साहब आपने एक statement बोली थी, you had said कि equities hold an edge over gold, right? And आज के टाइम में मुझे लगता है gold भी एक बहुत ही interesting asset class है, considering हमने कितना growth देखा है just in the last few years, 2-3 साल में. So please tell us कि what is your take on this? आपने ये जो statement बोली थी इसका मतलब क्या है, and what is your take on gold in general?
See, gold is asset class purely driven by demand supply. So it is asset class, it provides a hedge to the inflation, and asset class अगर गोल्ड माइनिंग करते हैं, सप्लाई ज़्यादा आ गया है, so उतना आपको गोल्ड प्राइसेस कम हो सकता है. अगर ज़्यादा माइनिंग नहीं किया है एंड डिमांड ज़्यादा बढ़ गया, से लास्ट 3 years इट इज यूनिक सिचुएशंस. लॉट ऑफ पीपल, क्योंकि अनसर्टेनिटीज बहुत बढ़ी, जियोपॉलिटिकल रिस्क बहुत बढ़ गया था, and sovereign funds, they want to actually invest in other asset class other than bonds. Therefore, people have gone in, they don't invest in equity. Sovereign funds don't invest in equity much. They invest in only in bond coupon bearing instruments. So gold asset class actually acts as a hedge against inflation. It's a protection to the country. It's a dollar based investing. Therefore, last 3 साल से जो return जो आया, it is actually back on the demand versus supply. More demand was there, less supply was there. But equity will continue an edge, क्योंकि equity ओन asset class is driven by the earnings. अगर ज़्यादा आपका कमाई का एक्सपेक्टेशन बढ़ते जा रहा है, इज़ नॉट ड्रिवन बाय डिमांड सप्लाई ऑफ द स्टॉक्स, इट इज़ ड्रिवन बाय द अर्निंग्स ऑफ द कंपनीज. अगर कंपनीज का कमाई बढ़ते जाते हैं, द नेचुरली दी स्टॉक रिटर्न विल लाइकली टू बी बेटर. अगर कंपनी का अगर कमाई कम होते हैं, then stock return actually likely to be lower. This is as simple as that. Very simple way of understanding equity is the more the earnings that you make, more the profitability you generate. More the profitability, more the higher the increase in stock price, therefore higher the return. Therefore, the equity return is driven by the earnings of the companies. The same way bond market. Agar bond market, instead of putting in gold, if you put in, say, government bond, 10-year bond, the 10-year bond gives me 6.4% for sure. Whereas gold price is actually not driven by the coupon, not by the earnings, it's by the demand supply.
Yeah.
And we must also understand the buy sell spread. Agar aapko gold is seen on one price, do you realize the same price when you go to the market for selling? You don't. You get that, I call it as a two-way price movement that comes. Therefore, gold asset class should be part of the diversification, not as the main asset class from a longer term investment point of view. That's why I still say equity holds a hedge over gold, definitely for long term. Even fixed income be. Fixed income, if we take about 7 to 8% coupon bearing instrument of bond, there 8% is real. It's 8% every month. It comes to my account every month, every year it comes to. I can't ignore that. The power of company is equally high. Therefore, these 3 asset classes should become, gold should be considered on the basis of the as an asset allocation strategy rather than alternate to these 2 asset classes.
Okay.
Yeah, edge over gold still exists for equity. Edge over gold still exists for fixed income. You can't ignore that because of 2 things. One is earnings, second is the coupon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, बाला साहब, जब हम जनरली ये क्वेश्चंस, ये वाला जो क्वेश्चन है मैं सबसे नहीं पूछती हूँ, बट क्योंकि आप इतने 3 डेकेड से इन्वेस्ट कर रहे हैं, more than 30 years now, and I'm sure you would be in a very you would be one of those people who will be able to give us a very logical advice to investors. ऐसे investors जो काफ़ी डरते हैं और जब मान लो कि मार्केट गिरती है तो उनको बहुत ज़्यादा they fear risk. There are a lot of investors who fear risk in general, right? तो आप ऐसे इन्वेस्टर्स को क्या बोलना चाहेंगे इन टर्म्स ऑफ इक्विटी इन्वेस्टिंग, राइट? क्यों कि सो गिव अस अ पर्सपेक्टिव कि अगर मुझे इक्विटी में पैसा डालना है, मुझे डर लगता है कि रिस्क है, लेकिन क्या उस रिस्क को कम करके मैं इन्वेस्ट कर सकती हूँ? सो ऐसे क्या वो 1-2 चीज़ें हो सकती हैं जिससे इक्विटी में मेरा रिस्क कम हो सकता है, एंड देन आई कुड कंसिडर इन्वेस्टिंग इन इक्विटी फंड्स?
So since you mentioned about 30-year experience, I am 30 year young.
Yes.
So 30-year experience makes you also remain young, energetic from a market point of view, which is what every investor should do. Every investor should look at market will remain forever. Therefore, market is not going to disappear overnight. Maybe we all as an individual disappear, but market will always remain because the new generation will come, new models will come, and therefore the fear of failure it's more related to the individuals. It is not for the diversified. Mutual fund is one animal. It is a diversified portfolio. You are investing on single stocks. You are not investing in single stock, you are investing in single sector. You are not taking a bet on single companies. Therefore, is not. If you are working in one company, then your entire fate of your individual, it depends on which company you work for also, right? So whereas in equity investing is actually you are investing in diversified portfolio, diverse businesses. Therefore, one should remember that fact that the moment you become diversified, one will be a failure, one will be a success. There are always some give and take will always be there in the portfolio. Therefore, one should not get too much worried about that, I call it concentration risk. So as long as you avoid the concentration risk from the individual point of view, concentration risk can be there in single fund houses, no problem, because they invest in diversified stocks in a same large cap, flexi cap, whatever the fund that you spoke about earlier, balance or don't define, all of them diversified portfolio. Therefore, one should not too much worry about these market volatility. Second is, I think today whatever said and done, today we are a $5 trillion economy. So as I mentioned earlier, when I started my career, the index was somewhere around 3000 tha. It was a 92, about 2000 index value tha, Sensex. At that point of time, as a youngster, I was about 24, 25, getting into the capital market company to work. At 2000 index, would I had vision that 2000 will become 80,000, 85,000? Absolutely no. Would have never imagined it will become 85,000. So we would have imagined that today we will have fiscal deficit very positive and so on and so forth, very low and so on and so forth. We would have never thought about it. We don't bother about that, right? You only know you are a running machine. You just keep going. Some will evolve, some will be failure, some will go up. But the trend that is remain permanent is actually the upward graph. But within the upward graph, you will see volatility. Volatility is like Ratan Tata used to say, every ECG report has to go up and down. If it is become straight, then it is bad. Yeah. So I give the principle. Therefore, every investor who comes, volatility should be treated as your friend. But I'm not saying you should be brave. I mean, in the sense, you can't say brave and then say, no, I'll face the high tide that comes in sea, therefore I'll get into the sea. That kind of braveness you don't need. And what is needed actually is the braveness, the optimism that yes, in the long term, market will do very well. Therefore, whatever volatility that we are seeing is more of short term. Let me continue to do my focus on my work. Let me continue to focus on my business, which is continue to earn business money for me. At the same time, I'll continue my investment for the long term point of view. The moment you do that, naturally the fear factor will go away. And the moment you start debating for some of this fear factor, so globally I think today a lot of unknown factors are coming. So most of the time we make mistakes to find an answer for unknown things. So we will not know, but we try to still find an answer. We go deeper. When you search for an answer for unknown things like Trump tariff, right? We do not know what is going in Trump's mind. If I start predicting what Trump will do, there is a high probability I will spend more time on predicting rather than investing. Therefore, these kind of principles, if it comes as part of the investment world, and my view, every individuals can create success for themselves. There's my 30 years of experience. This is what has taught me. And so therefore, whenever there is a crisis, I keep my cool mind and look at more deeply in terms of what should be done in order to protect your current volatile period from your broad thinking point of view. And basically, you just nurture that rather than getting worried. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm sure, of course, some great points there. लेकिन I'm sure बाला साहब ने कुछ गलतियाँ भी करी होंगी. I mean, every investor makes some mistakes in their journey, right? तो आप हमें ये बताइए कि what were some of those mistakes that you made जो आपको लगता है कि शायद नहीं करी होती तो maybe I would have been better off. And I think I would like you to also say कि जो आज के Gen Z investors हैं, right, who are मतलब जो ज़्यादा रिस्क लेना चाहते हैं with their investments. So I do believe there's also a category of investors जो सिर्फ small caps में invest करते हैं, who love sectoral investing. तो आप उनको भी क्या बोलना चाहेंगे based on your experience कि आपने जो गलतियाँ की हैं उसके basis पे can you link this question?
Yeah. See, there are two things I can give you many examples. One is personal example as well as fund management example. As a fund manager, we have done mistakes. Personal example is sometimes you see the stock price going up and up and up, not backed by the earnings, and then you expect the price to go up further. Therefore, you wait. This I have seen in 1992. Some of these investments which are done by my father, he used to go up like crazy in the market without any backing. I didn't know that it is going up because of speculation. So I thought it is going up, it will continue to go up. So even I stopped my parents to sell those investments, saying it will go up further. Then I see actually the fall. When it fall, it also fall. It felt like a falling sword. It felt like crazy actually. So that is time I realized it's falling because there is nothing to believe in the price movement. Therefore, sometimes you must believe in your advice that comes from your parents, because parents know it better. The greed actually gets checked by parents, not by yourself. So sometimes the market greed element doesn't play beyond a point. Therefore, that should be one of the mistake I have seen. Second is, even from a fund manager's point of view, we do make mistakes in terms of identifying companies will be high potential, untested, but is more of futuristic in nature. I think in 1999, we have invested in companies which we thought that the future of India on software technology. And the complete model got changed. From software technology, from a provider of eyeballs in those days, to become a software application developer, then become a product developer and so on. It's evolving, right? If you don't understand, if you don't track it very closely as a money manager, and then keep evolving your understanding, and if you take a large bets on certain assumption, which is the short-term cycles. See, if you actually invest on the basis of your short-term cycles and large exposure when you take, then you must also remember the short-term, the gain is also may not sustain for long-term. It will actually live only for a short-term. So we have done this kind of mistake. I think that's why I call it a cyclical versus structural story. So this is something we have seen. And third is, I think selling decision. Sometimes in a fund management activities, we would have made enough big money, but the market always brings an exuberance, right? Market brings an exuberance. Sometimes market can go overboard in giving a higher valuation of a certain company when they don't deserve as well. Even business may not deserve, company may deserve, but the business may not deserve. Promoter may deserve, but company may not deserve. Therefore, selling decisions. Sometimes we have seen companies where we made big tons of money, but we didn't sell. Therefore, the gain got disappeared in that. But in the mutual fund, not necessary. For a money manager, I am saying. The individual's point of view, sometimes what happens is individuals go and put money in the market by themselves. In a single stocks, large exposures they will take. They will take unlisted companies, they will take large exposures. You must remember, these are all seasonality. If you are able to understand the seasonality basis which there's a temporary but not permanent, then these are some of the decisions can be, you can apply a different principle for taking those decisions. I think as individually, we would have got some of the cyclical trend in the market as a long-term structural story, and we have made mistakes. So these are some of the things which I will say. But what is most important is actually sometimes we do take a bets on because the greed element. Say for example, if I take a 10% in a company in my portfolio, whether it is an equity or whether it is fixed income, there is a large exposure. A total 100 rupees I have, 10% I put in a single company, 10% single securities. And then my risk, fortune is linked to that. My risk is also linked to that. When you actually put both fortune and risk together, equal weighted, then I think you will sometimes, if you get it right, if you make a mistake, you will make a blunder. But you must actually always think that I will make blunder rather than making actually fortune. So therefore, I should give more weightage for the blunder rather than giving more weight for the fortune. So that if I am able to make this kind of adjustment, then I would have taken lower exposure of 5%. I would have still taken the risk, but I put a relatively lower weight in the higher risk. So these are basically investment principles. So frankly, these are some of the mistakes we have done as individuals, collectively, as individually, even personally. These are some of the mistakes we have done. But I think one thing I must, of course, admit is after every mistake, if we are able to accept and then find course correction, then we are done. I think I have realized over a period of time, is not mistake is part and parcel of life. As long as I accept it and then do a course correction immediately, then and there, and then move on in life and make those corrections along with that, then it can turn out to be a good decision for the future efficiency.
Sure. Okay. Thank you so much, Bala. So I think it was a wonderful conversation. I think मुझे इतना कुछ सीखने के लिए मिला है, so I'm sure हमारे सारे viewers को बहुत कुछ आज आपके discussion से मिला होगा in terms of learning. Thank you so much for your time, and I do hope कि हम आपको दोबारा जल्दी से वापस लेके आ पाएँ, to get all your wisdom again. But thank you for your time and for giving us the opportunity. Take care, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Namrata, and thank you for having me part of one of the most respected platform in the country, which is the Groww platform. And I wish all the success for the platform and the investors.
Thank you so much. Wow, that was such a wonderful conversation with Mr. Bala. I'm sure आप सबको बहुत कुछ सीखने के लिए मिला होगा, and I'm sure all of you are eagerly waiting for the next episode. तो जल्दी से जो भी हमने points discuss किए मैं आपके लिए summarize कर देती हूँ. तो सबसे पहले हमने Mr. Bala से पूछा कि ऐसे कौन से mutual funds हैं जो volatile markets के लिए अच्छे माने जाते हैं. So Mr. Bala says कि एक जो category है that's balanced advantage funds जो volatile markets के लिए बहुत अच्छे माने जाते हैं because ये funds जो हैं dynamically अपने portfolio को adjust करते हैं between equity and fixed income. He also says कि एक और जो category that's multi asset allocation funds जहाँ पे जो है focus रहता है across multiple asset classes, तो equity, fixed income, commodities, rates इन सब में आपका पैसा जाता है, तो ये भी अच्छे माने जाते हैं. So ये जो दो hybrid funds हैं these are considered to be good during volatile markets. फिर हमने मिस्टर बाला के साथ फ्लेक्सी कैप फंड्स के बारे में बात करी. मिस्टर बाला सेज कि फ्लेक्सी कैप फंड्स एक बहुत अच्छा ऑप्शन है एंड इट कुड बी अ पार्ट ऑफ योर कोर पोर्टफोलियो. ही सेज कि अगर आपको आपका इन्वेस्टमेंट होराइजन लॉन्ग टर्म है तो आपको फ्लेक्सी कैप फंड्स में आप लॉन्ग टर्म के लिए इन्वेस्ट कर सकते हैं टू ट्रूली एंजॉय द पावर ऑफ कंपाउंडिंग. ही ऑल्सो सेज कि अगर आपको सिर्फ कुछ ही इक्विटी फंड कैटेगरीज में इन्वेस्ट करना है देन फ्लेक्सी कैप फंड्स आर अ मस्ट हैव कैटेगरी इन योर पोर्टफोलियो. ही सेज कि अगर आप एक ऐसे इन्वेस्टर हैं जिनका इन्वेस्टमेंट होराइजन लॉन्ग टर्म है और आपका रिस्क टॉलरेंस भी थोड़ा हाई है तो आप जो थीमेटिक फंड्स हैं उनमें कंजम्पशन फंड्स या इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर फंड्स को भी कंसिडर कर सकते हैं एज अ पार्ट ऑफ योर पोर्टफोलियो. फिर हमने मिस्टर बाला के साथ थोड़ा फ्लेक्सी कैप फंड्स के बारे में बात करी एंड मिस्टर बाला सेज कि फ्लेक्सी कैप फंड्स एक अच्छा ऑप्शन है स्पेशली क्योंकि जो फ्लेक्सी कैप फंड्स होते हैं वो आपके कोर पोर्टफोलियो का हिस्सा हो सकते हैं. दे इन्वेस्ट अक्रॉस मार्केट कैप्स विदाउट रिस्ट्रिक्शन. ही सेज कि फ्लेक्सी कैप फंड्स में आपको लॉन्ग टर्म के लिए इन्वेस्ट करना चाहिए फॉर यू टू ट्रूली गेट द बेनिफिट ऑफ द पावर ऑफ कंपाउंडिंग. ही ऑल्सो सेज कि अगर आपको कुछ फ्यू फंड्स ही डालने हैं अपने पोर्टफोलियो में इन इक्विटी फंड्स तो आपका जो फ्लेक्सी कैप फंड्स है दे आर मस्ट हैव फंड्स इन योर पोर्टफोलियो. ही ऑल्सो सेज कि अगर आपका इन्वेस्टमेंट होराइजन लॉन्ग टर्म है और अगर आप एक ऐसे इन्वेस्टर हैं जो म्यूचुअल फंड्स को समझते हैं तब आप थोड़े थीमेटिक फंड्स को भी कंसिडर कर सकते हैं लाइक इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर फंड्स या कंजम्पशन फंड्स स्पेशली अगर आपका रिस्क टॉलरेंस इज स्लाइटली ऑन द हायर साइड. फिर हमने मिस्टर बाला से थोड़ा SIPs के बारे में बात की एंड हाउ कैन वी डू SIPs इन इक्विटी फंड्स फॉर वेल्थ क्रिएशन. तो मिस्टर बाला सेज कि मोस्ट इन्वेस्टर्स ये समझ चुके हैं कि SIP एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट चीज़ होती है for you to create wealth over long term and for you to achieve your financial goals. He says कि जो सबसे अच्छा तरीका होता है वो ये होता है कि सबसे पहले आपको इन्वेस्ट करना चाहिए through your SIPs और फिर जो है आपको अपने पैसे को खर्च करना चाहिए. He says कि आप SIPs करिए to manage your needs, invest for your needs. He also says कि हमें SIPs को step up करना चाहिए regularly, especially अगर हमें regular salary hikes मिलते हैं. He says these are some very simple ways to create wealth over long term. फिर हमने मिस्टर बाला से पूछा कि उन्होंने एक बार ये स्टेटमेंट में बोला था कि equity holds an edge over gold. तो इस स्टेटमेंट का मतलब क्या है? मिस्टर बाला says कि पिछले 3 सालों में बहुत ज़्यादा अनसर्टेनिटी रही है. गोल्ड जो है इट एक्ट्स एज अ हेज अगेंस्ट इन्फ्लेशन और इसी की वजह से जो है पिछले 3 सालों में हमने गोल्ड रेट भी काफ़ी बढ़ते हुए देखे हैं. फिर अगर हम इक्विटी फंड्स की बात करें तो उनका जो ग्रोथ आता है दैट कम्स फ्रॉम द ग्रोथ ऑफ द कंपनीज इन द पोर्टफोलियो, सो बेसिकली द अर्निंग्स ग्रोथ. तो ही सेज कि गोल्ड जो है वो आपके पोर्टफोलियो में एक डाइवर्सिफिकेशन टूल होना चाहिए बट नॉट द मेन पार्ट ऑफ योर पोर्टफोलियो. आपको जो लॉन्ग टर्म वेल्थ क्रिएशन होगा वो इक्विटी से ही होगा. फिर हमने मिस्टर बाला से पूछा he asked him for advice for investors जो स्टॉक मार्केट में इन्वेस्ट करने से काफ़ी डरते हैं. तो मिस्टर बाला सेज कि हमें ये तो समझना चाहिए कि स्टॉक मार्केट्स हमेशा रहेंगी. ही सेज कि जब आप इक्विटी फंड्स में इन्वेस्ट करते हैं तो आपको एक डाइवर्सिफाइड पोर्टफोलियो मिलता है विच मीन्स आप एक कंपनी में इन्वेस्ट नहीं कर रहे हैं, आपको एक डाइवर्सिफिकेशन मिल रहा है जिससे आपका कॉन्सेंट्रेशन रिस्क कम होता है. ही सेज कि वॉलेटिलिटी को अपने दोस्त के जैसे ट्रीट करिए एंड स्टॉक मार्केट की लॉन्ग टर्म परफॉर्मेंस पे आप ऑप्टिमिस्टिक रहिए, तब आपका डर चला जाएगा एंड यू विल नॉट वरी अबाउट शॉर्ट टर्म प्रॉब्लम्स लाइक ट्रम्प टैरिफ्स, क्योंकि शॉर्ट टर्म प्रॉब्लम्स की वजह से लॉन्ग टर्म परफॉर्मेंस इन इक्विटी मार्केट डज नॉट गेट इम्पैक्ट. अंत में हमने मिस्टर बाला से उनकी कुछ लर्निंग्स के बारे में पूछा फ्रॉम इक्विटी इन्वेस्टिंग एंड मिस्टर बाला सेज कि सबसे पहले सिर्फ ऐसे ही बिजनेसेस में इन्वेस्ट करिए जो आप समझते हैं. ही ऑल्सो सेज कि जितना आप हैंडल कर सकते हैं उतना ही इन्वेस्ट करिए, उससे ज्यादा इन्वेस्ट मत करिए. डोंट फॉल फॉर मार्केट एक्सूबरेंस. ही ऑल्सो सेज कि यू शुड फोकस ऑन अवॉइडिंग इन्वेस्टिंग ब्लंडर्स. मार्केट्स में रिटर्न्स को चेज मत करिए. ही सेज कि अगर आपने गलतियां करी भी हैं तो उसको एक्सेप्ट करिए and then make course correction in your equity investments. So that was about it in this particular episode. I do hope all of you had a wonderful learning experience. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please do like this video, share it with everyone, and please do subscribe to the Groww Mutual Fund channel, which is called Mutual Funds with Groww. Thank you so much for watching.
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.